Hey everyone, Thor Ragnarok is now in theaters worldwide, and we are here with our reactions, why our favorite scenes and moments work so well, and how the director and cast and writers made Thor Ragnarok such a success.
Yay.
Now, this is the Need to Know. It's a weekly deep dive into all of the biggest news this week. So we're also going to talk about that new Star Wars The Last Jedi trailer that came out, specifically a few visual details that you might have missed. Also, we're going to dig into the music for the new Justice League movie, plot details for the upcoming Avengers Infinity War, Han Solo movie, Logan, and more. Now, all of these stories are based on the requests and reactions that you guys sent us via Stardust. Check our Stardust download link in the description below so that you can upload your reactions to your favorite movies and TV shows. Tag us at New Rockstars, and get them featured on this show. I've been talking a lot. By the way, I'm Erik Voss, your host, and the rest of these beautiful idiots joining me at this table are...
Sam Bashor, here at Sam Bashor on Twitter.
Filup Molina.
Tommy Bechtold.
Welcome back.
yes. Oh, you can see I got my nice Texas tan.
Wow, you look great.
Maud, you look terrible.
I'm Maud from the future, and I guess
That
my only
Disney Channel
advice, my advice would be don't eat a lot of Dominoes, Maud, if you can hear this.
Also, we're very proud of you, and we stand with you.
Thank you.
Maud Garrett obviously is not with us this week. Where is she? Is she out of town?
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Yeah, just assume the worst.
Resting in paradise.
Let's get started with our top story. Yeah, Thor Ragnarok. We have all seen it, and we're going to talk about what we loved about it, some specific details, why we loved it. But first, here's a little reaction from Maggie on Stardust.
Just got back from seeing Thor Ragnarok, and oh my goodness, it was a grand old time. I'm really happy with how this movie turned out. It's such a shift from Thor's previous movies, and I loved it. I think it's a great addition to this direction that the MCU is going in, and I think it's all leading up to something that's going to be so spectacular and so amazing. And shout out to Sam Bashor for his video on New Rockstars, because I definitely got that frog joke.
Thank you, Maggie. Yeah, I totally agree.
Good work,
This
Maggie.
movie was amazing.
It's my mom's name, but that wasn't my mom.
Throg.
Yeah.
Throg
Bechtold. Miss Strawberry, Rochester, New York, 1964 through 69.
Mr. Throg Bechtold, are you hitting on me?
Don't talk about my mom that way.
All right.
Well, heads up to you guys. We may touch on some plot points from the movie. It's probably safe to say that this will be a spoiler review, but we will warn you before we discuss any of the big stuff from the ending of the movie. So don't worry about that. So what did you guys think? What were the standout moments for you? Personally, I loved how funny this movie was. This felt like the funniest easily in the MCU.
That's what this movie's trying to be. It's trying to be the Phil Lord, Chris Miller kind of movie. It felt like it belonged to me and almost in the Lego universe a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Because
which
it's
is
just
like,
everyone's coming together from everywhere.
Right. And also the way that, you know this too, on your breakdown too, like the amount of references that they're jamming in as jokes and like interpreting those in a funny way, like Korg, obviously. It's just like, let's throw Korg in there and let's make him just like charming and sweet. And that's the director actually too, right?
He is the highlight for me. Him and Meek are pretty. Meek, I saw it with my friend DJ, and he's like, I just want the action figure for Meek, the little knife hands. And everything. Because he's so cute. Like it's so cool.
I love this movie. Sorry, I know you have something you want to say too, but this movie has so many things that. You almost want to watch it again to watch the jokes that are happening in the background. There's one that happens with him where Korg comes in and he's like ready to fire, and then like he comes in like even later, like 8 seconds too late, and he goes like. And he's like is ready to take them all on. But like no one's there. We've already done that.
Yeah, I thought, along with being Phil Lord and Chris Miller-esque, it was also like the interpersonal interactions were very what we do in the shadows-esque. Just incredibly uncomfortable, and like even just the reactions of people were so organic and like not necessarily grandiose like you would get in a normal superhero or big blockbuster movie. They were much like smaller and more human, oddly enough. One of the movies about demigods and aliens. But
no, it's like uncomfortably comfortable kind of. Like, it's just like because we've all like had these like weird things where like just stop talking, like whatever you're doing, just stop
but then
talking.
you do stop talking and no one starts talking. So it's that Jeff Goldblum moment where they all just kind of like.
Do you guys?
And then it just moves on.
Do you guys watch Bob's Burgers at all? You ever watch that?
Yes.
So Korg felt like Teddy. He's like the guy that always hangs out. Like he's the guy in the corner. You know, everybody knows Korg. Like he's the guy. Like he'll come over and help you fix your stuff. But like also, we don't know if we're supposed to invite him to our barbecue or not. Like he's kind of weird. But you know, we still like Korg.
For sure.
Can we talk about the like force of nature though that was Jeff Goldblum's performance?
Oh my god,
he was like to me he like embodied what the whole like point of this movie was. It was just kind of like detached and just fun and colorful and this weird, like his skin color had changed. I feel like either they color graded or just like covered him in like Oompa Loompa makeup. I didn't realize he had that kind of tan, but like man, just like he was just kind of like looking around and just reacting to how weird and comic booky everything was in this really fun way. And it felt like this is, you can just look at Jeff Goldblum and be like, this is the kind of movie this is.
When he does not address Thor or anyone by their real names, I'm like, that must be how he is in real life.
Yeah.
Like, I was half hears things. And he's like,
I was gonna say
he goes back to like typing stuff.
He was like an 11 out of 10 on the Goldblum like quirk scale.
They let him go full Goldblum.
Like he was like kind of like weirdly like fluidly sexual with everyone and like also just not connected to anyone. And he also had like the great like kind of like prick boss vibe about him of like, yeah, I'm gonna keep smiling and acting like everything's great, but really like I don't like any of you. Like,
weren't we saying ahead of time that it seemed like no one had given Jeff Goldblum a
No,
script?
I think they had a cue cards and it was like, just say Thor and like here's you can make like a joke about this like weird name here. But he obviously couldn't like pronounce some stuff and he's just like whatever. It's
like,
fine.
I think they like he wasn't even supposed to be in the movie. He was like walking on set one day and they're like,
get in costume,
you want to just walk in? Just say what you would say in real life if you saw this stuff happening. He's like, just like this right now.
Weirdly, that's not the costume department. He had that. He
Yeah,
had
he
all
was
the gold
wearing-
and makeup on, and they're like, "You want to just step in?
And
And
then-
then we'll revolve everything around you."
to sew it all up, he's like, I also love to play piano. They're like, great, we'll give you a space piano and
and
a
you'll
weird
just play.
space band in the background.
Did you notice that in the like hologram kind of thing that displays to the whole
the arena?
whatever? Yeah. Well, like it's a giant version of him in front of the building that it like keeps his quirks. Like it's not like usually if you see like a big kind of like Zordon-esque thing, it's like find him. And there's like so maybe they're out there. And then he'll like look at something that like we can't see. But this is a giant hologram. Yeah, do it. Man, he was by far. Honestly, he was my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, he was great.
Easily.
Agreed. And every other character they introduced was amazing. I really liked, and I want to say a new character is Hulk because he actually has any personality whatsoever, and you felt for him a lot, which was really cool. And I'm glad this movie did have some emotional beats where instead of it's not just jokes like 100 miles an hour at your face constantly, there are emotional beats, and you get to learn more about Thor. And when in like with the first Thor movie, they're like, we'll take away his hammer, that way he's more human and he has to be with humans. In this, he actually felt human and he felt more like a god, because usually he feels like he's this weird space alien that can pick up this strong hammer. In this, he's like, no, he's like a god. He is a fundamental piece of the universe that made Earth or Asgard or whatever you want to call it.
So I almost have a pitch for like a Superman movie based on what they did here, where it's always so hard to find anyone that can fight Superman in a movie, especially because like the effects are never able to like live up to what we need. So it's hard to challenge him. So it'd be really cool to put Superman back on Krypton. And there he has to save the day, and it's like, well, there you're just average.
Right.
And that's very much what Thor felt like throughout his entire movie. I mean, he's not even the best fighter of the Asgardians that's with him. Like both Hela, but also the Valkyrie that we find out, like she is able to probably kick his ass, or she does actually. So just Thor as a normal everyman, which you with those arms though, but still otherwise a normal everyman is actually a new place to take Thor.
It felt like this is for both Thor and Hulk. This is like exactly where you would want to put these characters in these scenarios to really like bring out the truest aspects of them. Like I love that Bruce Banner was in the most stimulating world imaginable. I love the whole like the getting hit in the face with the green dust, and which if you look closely is like, I feel like throughout the movie there's still like elements of green dust, kind of like Tobias Funke, you know, throughout, with the blue. But I in both cases, like we get to see them in their most truest form, I think, and this is exactly what I would want to see as much as I like seeing Thor trying to be a fish out of water on Earth, it was fun just to put him in an even more absurd, crazy reality and seeing him have to fight with his hands, because I feel like that is who Thor is at his core. Like, he's desperate to fight in these kind of crazy battles.
This movie, to me, felt like, of all of the Thor and Avenger movies that included Loki, I did the exact thing that people have asked not to do, tap my fingers on the table to accentuate my point. I felt like this was the most, like, nuanced yet perfect use of Loki in these movies. Like, it wasn't like he didn't like ruin things irrevocably, or he didn't make it so irredeemable what he did. And also, he dressed like Tommy Wiseau for the first 20 minutes of the movie. He really did. Like, he was
a picture of Tommy Wiseau real quick.
He did, but he really did look exactly like he had the black on black suit with the Tommy Wiseau kind of like scraggly hair on Earth, and I just kept thinking, like,
I do not impersonate him. I did not.
I did not become Odin. I didn't do it. Oh, hi, Mark.
I think this movie, there's a certain point where I feel like you get a little nervous of like, oh man, did they water down Loki, or did they make him like a safe comical trickster? Is he the Kramer almost? Like, comes in, it's like I'm gonna mess things up a little bit. But I think they really nail it when they just remind us, you got God of Thunder, he's God of Mischief. Like, he is supposed to be that thing. We're just like, look, I'm wild card by nature. I designed wild card. I am the element of wild card and being mischievous, and that they really did well. Yeah,
I really liked it. Also, this movie felt more than other comic book movies. It felt like a trade of a comic, because it's like, here's the intro of like, this is where the story's going to be, and then you get like everything talking about Odin. Then you get like, well, now here's the New York part, and like that's when Doctor Strange gets to jump in here, and that feels like, oh, it's a guest issue to try to get more people to come and buy.
Definitely, the Doctor Strange part does feel like that page where it's like, oh, Doctor Strange, and he's drawn a little differently.
And he's there, and you're like, cool, but it's like, it doesn't pertain at all to what's happening elsewhere. But but as the movie goes on, you're like, yeah, I can see is like they took two trades of comics and they made a movie out of it, which is not bad. I love the way this movie played out, and even though Doctor Strange felt like the most out of place out of everything, I loved it. I really liked seeing him.
And it wasn't a bad business move to remind people, because Doctor Strange was definitely the most like out there Marvel like solo movie, and I felt like, okay, this is a good reminder of like, now he's actually become the Sorcerer Supreme, and like he's really good at doing this stuff now. I don't know how spoiler we can get. This isn't about the ending, but the big rumor like leading up to the movie like a year ago was that Idris Elba's character was gonna die, and instead everyone else just died. Like, Ray Stevenson didn't even get a line in the movie. He put the sword into the Bifrost and then just took 2 to the ribs. And then what was the other guy? The guy who plays like the Robin Hood guy.
Fenzrill or something like that.
It's Zach Levi, right? Or Levy. But
they both get dispatched in a way that I think I do have some gripes with the movie, and I think we can save them.
Yeah, we're going to get to
when we
a couple gripes a little bit.
But I think that is kind of one of those things where it's like, that was supposed to... Everyone, I think, was supposed to recognize, hey, our beloved character. Oh man, and I don't think we actually did have that reaction.
No, at all.
I didn't think that they were that beloved either. Like, I mean, I didn't really care too much. It's also, like, Zachary Levi was the second guy to play that role.
I know. Well, he was, and then he wasn't, and then he was again, or something like that.
Like,
but it's kind of like the characters that show up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. level of like fame, where it's like, oh yeah, that'd be a big deal on the TV show, but like, it's a Thor movie.
And I get like Sif was like, Jamie Alexander was like, well, yeah, they called me like last minute to like come on set, so I couldn't do it because of Blind Spot. I'm like, oh, I get it, because this scene feels very tacked on. They're like, we should maybe throw them in there. And I do like that the guy who had like the final stand a little bit with Hela, who could kind of hold his own. I'm sorry, I don't remember his character's name. I was glad it was him at the very least. It was pretty cool.
Oh, is that Carl Urban?
No. Because there was like the Warrior 3 or the Warrior 4 with Sif.
There's the Mace.
Yeah. The Mace guy, who was really in the army. Yeah. See, I don't know. We don't know their names. That's obviously because we love them so much.
Yeah, and yet these are existing characters from the franchise. But they're not really. I'll save it for the gripes.
Yeah. And actually, I think now's a good time to talk about maybe some of the thoughts we had on the ending or later in the movie. But if you still haven't seen the movie and you want to skip that, we're putting in a skip time somewhere in here. Yeah, there it is. Right there it is. Just skip to that time, and then we'll talk to some.
And skip around your apartment or house.
You know what? Yeah, it gets the blood flowing and makes you just happy. But yeah, let's talk about the ending of this movie. It was one of the things that I appreciated the most about the way Taika Waititi went forward with this story. Last time we were talking about Hulk, I talked about how he wanted to embrace the idea of the Ragnarok spirit and just like charge full forward at the end of the world. And I love how like the twist at the end of this was that, you know, they were afraid of the end of the world happening, of they wanted to prevent Ragnarok, and then the decision was like, no, let's just like let nature take its course and just have fun on the way down and adapt to that change. And it kind of had this feeling to me like the end was in the beginning. You know, at the very beginning of the movie, Surtur makes that promise. Thor says, "Oh, that would be a spectacle to see." And then at the end of the movie, that we see that spectacle, and it's amazing to see. It reminded me of like Cabin in the Woods or This Is the End, and just like kind of delighting in seeing the world end. It was almost funny in a way, and like I think that's one of the things that just made this movie so charming, is that it wasn't trying to just go through those motions of stopping the end of the world and hitting pause on the ticking time bomb at 2 seconds. You know,
I love the spectacle of it. I think emotionally it wasn't the end of Asgard as it should have felt like, because it had that syndrome that a lot of movies do when you destroy a planet, where it's like, good thing there's only 1,000 people on this planet. You know what I mean? Like where you see they're like, all right, we've saved the Asgardians, and it's like, on one ship that's like not bigger than the Titanic,
right?
You know,
yeah, it can't really tell, because when they keep calling Asgard a planet, I'm like, this looks like one really big, like a big city, but still,
it looks like a resort.
Not bigger than New York.
Yeah,
it kind of just looks like Atlantis in Nassau, like one of those like all-inclusive.
Oh resort.
Yeah, like there's like water slide. You can swim with sharks if you want. Also, all of the military personnel in Asgard has been murdered, so it's like really only civilians saved in that.
I will say it was the opening scene was the coolest Thor scene ever with Surtur when he's fighting in the very beginning. Coolest scene.
That fight is amazing.
Yeah, and then coming it back around, seeing Surtur again as the reason that it all dies, and also we realize that we've seen the death of Asgard since the very first trailer for this movie, which is a bit of a bummer. I don't know why I got kind of bummed. I'm like, oh, it sucks that I already saw this, even though I thought it was going to be a dream sequence, or it was going to happen earlier or something like that.
I'll say the reason maybe it sucked is because I had a similar feeling, even though I really enjoyed seeing it. Right when they're putting that plan together, he's like, wait, we'll make it happen. Right at that moment, trailer image shows up in my head. I'm like, oh, so we're going to see him giant or whatever. Yeah, so it just like, it kicks you in the nuts like right before you see it.
I did, but having Banner jump out of the ship and just
pancake,
it was so well shot, because like Fenrir the wolf just like stops for a second because this thing just jumped from like 100 feet and pancaked on the ground.
It's like when a bird flies into a window or something. Oh, damn.
Yeah,
bird.
it slowly slides down.
It's the same thing, and I also forgot. I'm like, no, he can't die. There's literally no way that Banner can ever die.
You see him bleed though?
He didn't bleed.
He bled, which is a pretty big deal actually. A lot of people even wonder, can Hulk bleed?
Right.
Yeah, but no, like I think in the first Avengers they brought up that one deleted scene where like Banner tried to shoot himself in the mouth, but he hulked out before it could happen.
Yeah,
and spit out the bullet. So it's like, no, of course he's not going to die from this little thing, of course. But it was, I think that might be the point I laughed the hardest in the movie, and having Hulk fight Surtur because he can't understand what's happening. I really enjoyed that.
And
I loved the finale.
He got the cool like exit line, like, now you'll see who I really am. Straight into
I love how many times Thor is trying to do the like
the
palm
Age
touch.
of Ultron palm stroke.
Exactly.
The sun's going down.
Sun's getting real low.
Stop.
Well, did we have any other things that maybe didn't pay off for us? Let's get into some minor gripes that we might have had, things that they could have done better. Minor gripes.
At times, we were talking about this before, but there are times when it kind of feels like there are two movies, maybe three, maybe even three movies where that are happening here, and it feels like Taika Waititi had the most fun making the Planet Hulk movie, or Planet Thor, because Hulk's already there and he's just floating around. And then there's Hela, and it's just like we were talking about, like it would have been cool if more shit happened for either of the stories, like if it had another beat and then they came together, because then it makes it seem like, oh, Thor grew more, or like Hulk and Thor are clearly friends, and we can see that a little bit more. Or Hela's like actually a real threat, like she took out a whole army, amazing, but she she sat down and like I don't know. Yeah,
it's interesting because the movie's not short.
No, it's
but
not,
it does feel specifically like they're missing one sequence in like of a battle on Sakaar or something like that, or maybe Thor getting his ass beat and like kind of being spit on, kind of like a gladiator kind of journey for him, and him having to like rise back up and lead everyone or whatever.
Yeah.
You kind of felt like it was something of that scale is going to happen, and it doesn't. And then with the Hela story, also you kind of feel like, okay, she kills all of the Asgardian warriors, and then you're like, and then what's she gonna do? Oh, nothing.
She
like,
just break some paintings. And
she's gonna ruin the ceiling.
I think like just this is gonna sound like I'm contradicting a compliment earlier, but like this movie to me could have been called Asgardians of the Galaxy because the like colors and jokes felt very Guardians of the Galaxy influenced to me, like in a good way. And I think like certainly the director, whose name I always butcher, Taika Waititi.
Tiny white guy.
Tiny Waititi. That's not true.
I know.
But I think like there were like it took me a while to remember, like, oh, he's also a brilliant comedy director. Because at first I was like, this is just like Guardians of the Galaxy, even with the synth, which is done by Mark Mothersbaugh from Devo and is great. But, like, that is used so heavily in the Guardians movie, those, like, funky synth themes for it. And then, so I thought that, like, I loved Thor. I thought this was a great movie. I had a great time. But I couldn't help but feel like they were pressured into making it slightly goofier than it maybe needed to be. For me, that's always going to play funnier, but for more like serious comic fans, I could see them being annoyed by how lighthearted a lot of the moments were.
Or maybe not even annoyed, but just like it's a different journey than you expect. I'll say the first part, I think it's a different kind of funny than Guardians, personally. I think they are similar, but this does feel like a little bit of that Kiwi humor or whatever, which is a little more uncomfortable.
Sure.
Kind of joking and improv based, which is definitely there. But the second part I definitely see where it's like I love comedy, I love funny movies, and I really feel like you have to have comedy or funny in anything that's dramatic in order for me to actually believe it's real. Because if it's pure drama, I'm actually gonna disconnect. I'm like, well, these characters aren't real.
Right.
Because in real life, even when I'm sad, I joke around a little bit.
Yeah.
So I need that. But in this movie, I'll say it actually probably was almost only that, to the extent I had the same issue with Lego Batman, actually, which is another very, very funny movie, and a movie I rate very high and I think is great to go watch, and you don't care at all about the characters actually achieving their goals, and you're mostly not worried that they won't achieve their goals because it starts to feel like a cartoon that will essentially everyone's going to be fine and it's going to happen, and it doesn't feel like the stakes are real. And I think that's why we didn't really care when the major deaths happen, when Hela shows up, and it's like, okay, like it's nothing hit emotionally.
There was some emotion when, because we're in spoiler, like a few things, right? We're in spoilers. We can say
yes,
sure, yeah.
Okay,
We'll
so when Odin dies, you're like, like it doesn't, like it's just like we found him, and less than 3 minutes away, like after that he's gone, and then
is he?
Like exactly,
right.
like where did he go? Like I thought that if he's a Asgardian, you have to die in battle to go to Valhalla. There'll be a bunch of Anthony Hopkins all over the world, and then but I did think it paid off with at the end when like Thor's lost his eye and he can like actually talk to his father about like what the hammer means and blah blah blah.
What it's like to have your depth of field change.
There you go. I mean, that's why hammers are not a great idea now, because he probably couldn't aim very well. It's just gone everywhere.
Am I hitting you?
Can I ask you guys a real dumb question? I literally, I don't even want to admit this. I just like blinked too hard right at that moment. I was like, where does I go? What happened?
Gotta speed up those blinks.
She got a little knife in the corner and just flicked it right out.
Yeah, she did. It was very casual.
When you flick like something out of your teeth.
She like scooped and popped it?
Yeah,
she like melon balled it.
Yeah.
Oh, because also I didn't hear it kind of like, it was just kind of
He just kind of...
Like, he went, dang, that's going to be tough to wear
landed in someone's
sunglasses
drink,
now.
like, oh my.
That's kind of cool.
And all the promo art for Avengers Infinity War has him with both peepers and probably a hammer too. So what's gonna?
Right, we'll see.
Right.
I think my only gripe with the movie was like centered around the action. I agree with you guys. I think I love the whole gladiator fight between Hulk and Thor, and I think this was the one action sequence, maybe other than the opening with the like dragon and the hammer, where they were able to like work the comedy into the action. You know, like when you watch a really good Jackie Chan fight sequence, he's like really funny. He's like got great timing. He knows how to like set things up and pay them off. And like some of the better Marvel movies that like. When you think like the Avengers or some of the Iron Man movies, they did a good job like working the comedy into the action. Like you had good dialogue. I think Iron Man 3 is like a good example. Like Shane Black wrote that script, and he did a good job like setting up comedy in the dialogue. But also like you have these scenes where he has different pieces of the armor that like causes him like there's like setup and payoff and surprises in the action. And I just wish that there was a bit more of that in the action of this movie. I saw it in the gladiator fight because that surprised me in a lot of ways, but like the rest of the movie, I'm just like, oh yeah, this is kind of a traditional just fight scene.
It felt like everyone involved knew they had to have fights, and so they fought.
Right.
But not that actually like the fights themselves were where they're going to get really creative. The most creative moment probably is the hammer in the mouth.
Yeah.
But that's early in the movie, and then that's kind of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of creativity toward fighting.
Yeah.
Well, we want you to let us know what you think. Actually, we're going to check in with another Stardust reaction, this time from Lil Ginger Ninja.
Ninja, so cute.
Just saw Thor Ragnarok. Not going to say too much because I know it's not out everywhere yet. But guys, the reviews are right. It's amazing. It's hilarious. I was laughing the entire time. It's awesome to see Chris Hemsworth in this more comedic role that we've been seeing of him lately. I loved the New Zealand and Australian Easter eggs that was in it, with the Kiwi really putting on his accent and the ship being named after an Australian car, the Commodore. I think this beats Spider-Man, guys. I love Spider-Man, but I think this beats it. It's amazing.
That was familiar.
Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. That's we'll be using that for our breakdown probably. That'll be coming out next week.
No credit.
But actually, we wanted to give you guys kind of a prompt here. We're gonna start doing this. We want to leave you guys with a Stardust question. What joke in Thor Ragnarok made you laugh the hardest? You know, what did you find the funniest in the movie? And like, tell us what the laugh was like. You know, did you like choke on popcorn? Or did people like do that weird turn? Or just post your response as a reaction on Stardust, which remember you can get by clicking on the download link in the description below.
Joke can be like just straight up funniest thing that happened in that movie.
Yeah, anything that you really loved. We just want to give you guys like a specific thing that we wanted to see what all of you guys found the funniest. So yeah, remember to tag us at New Rockstars in that reaction. And yeah, next week we might feature your reaction in this video on our screen behind us.
Mine was the window bit. If you know what I'm talking about, the window bit was my favorite with the ball.
Oh yeah.
That one genuinely.
That's your sense of humor.
That
though.
one gave me the giggles. I giggle hard.
Mine was when Odin died. I turned to the person and I went, "That's funny." Oh,
Losing a father.
Been there twice.
Okay.
Sam, I'm just remembering how when we used to work next to each other, how often you would just turn and show me a GIF.
Yeah.
And like that's what that moment is. It's just a GIF moment.
Yeah, it'll be GIFs. It'll be on my phone.
All right, well, let's move on to our weekly trivia question. Let's see, I have the cards over here. Apparently, this week's is based on the new season of Stranger Things. You want to distribute those, Filup, for us? Which is great because this week our breakdown is going to be coming out very soon, if it's not already out when you're watching this. Because I spent all week watching this over and over again. I haven't slept. I'm very, very, very tired. So let's read this question. Here we go. In Stranger Things 2, Season 2, what is the name of the character played by bodybuilder Kai Green? I guess that is the guy in Kali's gang in episode 7. So what is his character's name? Interesting. Okay. And while we write down our questions, we're going to hear from Labyrinth on Stardust with a question she had about the opening scene in Stranger Things Season 2 with this gang.
Okay, I have to ask the universe about this thing that bugged me for about 10 minutes on the cold open of the whole series. They made special care and effort to show Callie wiping her nose to reveal her number, but if she wiped her nose like this, it would have looked like 800 this way, because when you like get tattooed, it would have been 088. Why did they do it backwards?
Oh, that is a very interesting point, Labyrinth. Yeah, so I guess it would be 800. I don't know if that's just something the production designer wanted to have. I'm gonna have to rewatch that. I need to rewatch episode 7 because it's a really, really interesting point.
Maybe she wanted the viewers to see it wrong because
She's
that's her
self-aware.
power.
Yeah, right, she implanted
Is to
that
make you
wrong
see
tattoo.
what you want to see.
I'm gonna need that. Okay, so we're gonna have some stakes here. The closest answer, as decided by our judges, we'll do our sign-off goodbyes at the end of the video. The loser will face a horrible punishment that will be revealed later.
Cool. Which we do not know what it is.
Which we do not know.
Yeah.
Yes.
But back to this being a news show.
Right, yes. And a reminder that you can watch my Stranger Things full season breakdown and check out last week's episode of The Need to Know for a review of the season. We have some interesting points brought up there. But let's move on to the other big news to drop this week. Guys, a new short trailer for The Star Wars, The Last Jedi. A lot of the footage we saw was already in the past trailer, but I noticed a few key interesting shots that are new that I think deserve a closer look. So we're going to do a mini breakdown here using my favorite breakdown segment called, I would say wait for it, but it's already on the back screen. Zoom in hands. Yeah. The first shot that I want to look closely at, zooming and enhancing on, is this first shot of Luke in the cockpit on the Millennium Falcon. Now, obviously, it's great to see Luke return to a familiar place and to remember how to activate all the control panels. That was fun. But check out Mark Hamill's expression here. I'm not sure if that's an expression of nostalgia / haunted by my past, or is that I shouldn't be in here, I'm sneaking in, I'm hijacking this ship right now, maybe?
Eyes?
Does he have eyes?
If you can't really see his eyes, you can't check into his soul. What do you guys think is going on here?
Us? I think he's about to wreck it. He seems like he's a little off his rocker a little bit in this movie. Honestly, the first one was such fan service, Force Awakens. I know people will tear me apart in the comments. I felt like it was such fan service, and this is more fan service. I kind of, in my mind, I'm like, you know what? Screw him. Just I want him to use the Force and just crush it, and then he just runs away
joins Odin.
Yeah, there you go.
I feel like this would be the moment in the movie where we've just completed training with Rey, and she's now somehow talked him into at least going on one part of the journey with her. And she's kind of this is his first time being back in this space, and he's just letting that all kind of fill him in, because he also very clearly has tried to push that entire life out and just been this hermit. Yeah,
I to me this is kind of going back to your old high school and you see your old Jajaric trophies and
something you've tried to push out of your
I actually did have Jajaric trophies.
The look on his face is kind of I promised myself I'd never get back on this ship. It's like a person who's been in a boat crash before. I swore I'd never hit the high seas again, but here I am.
And it's kind of mean of the person inviting you. You're I know you went through a war.
Right,
Can you get back on it?
Getting on a battleship again?
Yeah. Your friend died in the last movie, and he kind of was on the ship a lot right before then. So,
and I'm sure Luke is well aware that there is currently a war going on. So it's getting back on the Falcon to go back into battle.
Well, the next shot I want to zoom and enhance on, obviously the biggest shot I think from the trailer, is this one of Supreme Leader Snoke sitting on his throne in this red hall flanked by Praetorian guards, and you can see General Hux in that shot. I think this is the first look we get of him in The Last Jedi, and we hear Snoke voiceover saying, "Darkness rises and light to meet it." That's perfect, Andy Serkis, right? But let's actually lean back rather than zooming in and focus on the composition of this shot. The shape of the red on black, to me, kind of makes it look like we're looking at this room through the shape of the helmet of Darth Vader. Notice the two red portions, kind of like the eyepieces, and the walkway that comes out like a rhombus. Is that the right thing? It's kind of like the breathing apparatus of the helmet. I don't know. Maybe I'm stretching here, but do you guys, if so, think this would be intentional? Or if so, why would the director want to evoke Darth Vader in this moment?
Well, there's definitely. I actually don't think you're wrong. It immediately makes you think of Mask in the first place. Maybe a little bit more like a Guardians kind of Mask rather than Darth Vader's. But at the same time, I will say that it's reminiscent of what we recently have for the first time seen, Vader's home.
Mustafar.
Yeah, and so there is something that I'm getting where I imagine maybe these are essentially glass enclosures that are keeping out lava or some sort of red planet force or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm the most exciting thing for me is hearing the music and seeing the different planets and whatnot and the locations in these movies. It's always so much fun. So if that is the imagery they're going for, great. That's amazing. makes me more excited for this movie.
Yeah, of course, this could just be like, us all magic eyeing things that are not there, which it's kind of our job here at New Rockstars. So we go crazy for you.
I like his outfit.
Snoke?
I like Snoke's outfit.
Just going
I like
gold, baby.
I like an old, decrepit leader that loves to wear gold. It just resonates with the current times,
Well, he definitely looks like he could be on Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
He's got like Cersei's gown, though.
Yeah.
From season 1.
Yeah. The microphone, it
her
scared me and jumped out and tried to eat my face. Okay, the next shot I want to zoom in and enhance on is this one, a Finn in the cockpit of a different ship. Yeah, baby. Woo! Now, obviously, notice how the cockpit dome is open. I feel like we don't really commonly
about
see
to
it.
die in
He's about to
space.
die, you don't hold your breath. Don't use it to cheer. But in the background, you can see the faintest red dust. So maybe this is on that crate battle, right, that we've seen, like with the cruisers speeding toward the gorilla walkers. But I think the fact that this dome is open suggests that, we might be in some kind of action scene where like people are going to jump in and out of the cockpit, or they're fighting on like the deck of the ship. I don't know. What do you guys think of this
Is
shot?
it a contractual obligation for John Boyega or just the creators of the new Star Wars, like the new people in charge, that he has to go woo in a spacecraft once a movie, like to remind us, like he's cool.
Why don't
He's
they
having
make
fun.
it Daisy Ridley doing that?
Yeah, it should be Oscar Isaac going like woo.
Yeah.
and then playing this. What's that movie he was in? Llewyn Davis. He just plays a little ditty.
I mean, it would be cool if this was a battle. You threw out a really fun idea. It'd be awesome if he jumped on the ship like mid-battle and took over for it. That would have been amazing.
Kick someone out of the cockpit, Indiana Jones
And
style.
then he does a couple more woos.
Yeah, a couple more woos.
Yeah, he's a woo boy.
Also, he we've now seen pictures of him flying rebel ships, wearing Imperial or First Order garb. John Boyega is flip-flopping like an MFer in this movie.
They're just going to have a lot of toys.
They're like, we got to give him a lot of outfits.
I just want to point out, there's no shirt under there. This is just like bare John Boyega under there.
Oh, wow.
A little missable detail.
Well, let's move on to the final shot I want to point out. This one of Rey in the rain holding a lightsaber. Now, if you look closely, you can kind of see steam rising off the blade as it like vaporizes the raindrops. I just love that attention to detail between this and the snow duel in The Force Awakens. I just think lightsaber battles look so much better in precipitation.
I'm guessing that's on the island where she's training with Luke, probably.
Right, yeah. So, we're not sure really where we've seen this rainy location. I kind of have a loose theory. It's not even fully formed that like this could be part of that Force vision that she had in the Force Awakens, where there was kind of rainy. We saw Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren. So I don't know. Do you guys think this could be part of that vision, or is this something literal that we're seeing?
I mean, I'm going to go a hard extreme theory here. She's in Niagara Falls, New York on the Maid of the Mist, and she's just batting away the Canadian horseshoe fall.
Who just proposed to her. Such a romantic place.
Yeah.
No, I kind of feel what Eric's saying here, where there is something to the similarities with the color scheme. Definitely, it is interesting that she would be able to wield a lightsaber in her Force vision.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's the reason why we could be wrong.
Yeah.
But
well, let us know what you think. I actually posted one other detail that I noticed, kind of as an afterthought, that I posted on Stardust. So let's check out me on Stardust.
Okay, guys, new Last Jedi trailer. What kind of trailer? It's a little baby one. The Awake spot that came on TV. Guys, I can't get enough Last Jedi footage. I love everything that I see from it. Notice how it looked like the Millennium Falcon was bursting out of the ground on Crate, making me think that those underground cavern that it was flying through in the previous trailer was located on Crate. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Now, what happened to you between shooting that video and now? You look way different.
That's Eric after dark, and this is Eric before dark.
We have like a couple glasses of like Pinot Noir.
Yeah,
I'm just saying I like that Eric, and I'd like
there's
to
a
see
different version of myself that I just don't really know, and I would rather not know.
Wow.
That,
I know him. He's great. Yeah.
He's better than this.
Way better. He's got great.
That's Ricky Voss.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Post your reaction to the show on Stardust. Tag us in the Mad New Rockstars. That way you can kind of help us decide which topics to cover for future episodes. But let's move on to our By the Numbers segment.
Is there a
And
sound effect that goes with it? Ching.
money.
There you go.
And staying on the topic of Star Wars, this number is, I guess, Star Wars related. It is the number 80. Okay, so what do you guys think the number 80 refers to? I have the answer on this card.
Just in Star Wars.
Yeah, what's a good Star Wars 80 that's out there?
1980, the release year of Empire Strikes Back.
That's true.
I buy that. I have no idea when that movie came out.
Yeah.
Is there like an Order 80 when they decided to bring the Jedis back to life after 66?
Jump from
It's gonna
66
be
to 80.
the number of people in Last Jedi who
Warmer.
yeah.
Each word is warmer.
Yeah. The number of people in The Last Jedi who are in one battle scene.
Ooh, the number of product placements that are going to be in this movie for stuff that you can buy later.
Does that happen? Is there like fresh Coca-Cola?
Yeah. Well, all those are very interesting guesses. The number 80 refers to 80% of the new Han Solo movie, Solo, a Star Wars story, 80% that Ron Howard reshot after taking over as director. That's nearly the entire movie.
It feels like he blew through that quick. I felt like it just
Took over in
he just
June.
signed on. Yeah.
I feel like he became a 25-year-old director again, though. He was so excited to shoot that movie.
Well, this is just a rumor. This is just based off of sources who are working with the show, unconfirmed. But if this is true, does this bode well? Is this a good thing?
It will be a movie.
It
will have all the beats of a movie.
That's true.
But explain how.
It'll be...
No, I think what it really means is it's going to be a Ron Howard movie and not a Phil Lord, Chris Miller hybrid. Which honestly, maybe at a certain point, it's kind of like seeing your ex or whatever. It's like, no, make it a clean break. Just fine. It's a new thing.
I think it's just interesting. It sounds like they doubled the budget for it in order to be able to do all these reshoots. If that's also
a lot of money. It's Star Wars.
Yeah, so. I mean, Rogue One had a ton of reshoots as well. It sounds like Tony Gilroy took over for Gareth Edwards and reshot a ton of that.
They must really believe that this movie has potential to be great, to keep funneling money, and for all the negative press, when the split between the original directors happened, to then shoot basically the entire movie over again. No one in the cast got fired except for Omar from The Wire, because he couldn't come back for reshoots because of his schedule, so he didn't get fired. They had to part ways. But so they must think that this is somewhere in that script there was a great movie to make.
Do you think it's? I mean, I hope it's that. Yeah. But couldn't it also be they can't make a bad Star Wars movie? Yeah. That's they're we're still building credibility.
It's our biggest brand.
I'll tell you what they can do: make a really bad title reveal, because who didn't think that was going to be the title? He was like, "Can we tell you what the title is?"
Shocker.
What was it going to be? Han?
I just stumbled upon just an old headline that I remember reading months ago, and I just saw it again. That idea that they were also really hating is it Alden?
Alden Ehrenreich.
His acting. And it's there is also a chance that they were like, let's give him another take.
Right.
He learned how to act in this character a little bit for a year.
Yeah.
Now let's let him.
Why
do the
didn't I
scenes
get
again.
the role then? If I got a whole nother try.
Could you
for
imagine
the
if they
whole
recast
movie?
that? Then there'd be. People would
that
would be huge.
I'd still see the movie because it's a Star Wars movie, of course. But it wouldn't bode well. Also, they were doing a lot of improv, and I've never seen Alden do any sort of acting like that. You did Great Caesar, and he was funny, but he was funny as a straight man.
Quick question. That's an interesting point, because we did talk about how they probably were improvising a lot more. In fact, they definitely were, and Lawrence Kasdan is very anti-improv. Apparently.
Anti-fun.
But he's one of the best screenwriters of all time, so you kind of have to listen, but it's frustrating.
Right.
So Thor Ragnarok, we saw what happens when it's inherent in the DNA of the film structure was improv and the reactions to things, and that's what what improv can do to change what the Thor movies felt like. Would you guys have liked that version of a Star Wars movie? Something that is like the Thor Ragnarok equivalent?
I wouldn't, because I think Han Solo is already a funny character as scripted in the original Star Wars movies. I think he's very funny. I mean, I talked to a buddy of mine, and we were like, Spaceballs is funny and the character of Lone Star is funny, but Han Solo is still kind of funnier than Lone Star, who is created as a funny version of the Han Solo character. So I don't necessarily think tonally. I think that Phil Lord and Chris Miller fell on the sword for probably the actors in this movie, and were like, okay, we'll part ways, and then they doubled down on keeping the cast the same, and I think that's probably very admirable. But I don't think a goofy or even kind of quirky Star Wars movie, more so than it already is, because they're already inherently campy. And the moments that are funny add levity to the drama, like you were talking about before. They make it not just straightforward sci-fi sadness. So don't think there needs to be any changing to the tone of these movies for me.
Phil Lord and Chris Miller, though, do have a lot of emotional depth in their movies when they do that, and it isn't they had, as far as the movies I've seen of them. Ooh, I'm stuttering all over the place. In their movies, I've never felt like the comedy has overwhelmed the drama and the emotional beats that they try to do.
They
and
walk a fine line.
Yeah, they do. But it would have been, for me, who's just a casual Star Wars fan, it would have been fun to see them attempt this. They've made. Are they almost to 10 movies now? They're almost there, or like they're like 8 movies. Yeah. It just would have been fun to see like them just try it. Like just give it a shot. It's not a main episode movie that they're doing. It's just it's an adventure movie. It would have been fun for me. I'm still gonna see this. I'm still excited for it.
Well, we actually have a thought from our buddy Masterman HM on Stardust. Had some choice words to say about this Han Solo movie, I guess. Take it away, Masterman.
I'm not looking forward to Solo, a Star Wars story. We don't need it. We know Han Solo. We don't need anything more about him. Maybe a bit more Chewbacca, but that's it. The name isn't creative. Solo, a Star Wars story. I don't like it. But I wish we could get somebody else like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Bye.
Wow.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right. Tell us how you really feel.
Right. Yeah.
I think we do need it because Han does not get explored in the movies. He just only reacts, whatever.
Yeah.
But to each
Appreciate
their
your
own.
opinion. Yeah.
I want a Droids movie too. That is Phil Lord, Chris Miller style.
That would have
Yeah.
been great.
Okay, moving on to our next topic, Justice League. Okay,
What's
so
Justice League news?
The music for this movie will be composed by the great Danny Elfman, known for his work on Beetlejuice, A Nightmare Before Christmas, and the Simpsons theme song, and of course, the original 1989 Batman theme. Now, Elfman is taking over for Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL, who did the music for Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, and the Dark Knight movies. And Elfman said this week that he would not be using any elements from Zimmer's score for those movies, claiming that his theme, Elfman's theme, is really the only true Batman theme. He said that Zimmer did great things with the percussion, but it wasn't really a theme. So I actually thought that we'd do a by comparison segment here, listening to samples from both composers for these different Batman themes, and kind of discussing whether we think Elfman is right or whether there's elements that we like from.
That's some
he's
shady
definitely a
stuff
jerk.
for Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
And also,
he's
never
very
seen him
talented.
before. He's
That's Jack Nicholson.
That's the Joker.
Shows your tatas.
Yeah. There's a reason he likes it.
Well, let's actually start with. I have it here queued up. What are you laughing at?
You made a reference that doesn't exist to anyone else but us in college. And it was a gross one. Anyway.
Okay, let's start with a sample of Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL's Batman theme from Batman v Superman. Here we go. Okay. Great. All right, great. Now let's
And
listen.
then put that at the end there.
Yeah. That was just a sample of it, not the full score, obviously. It's longer than like 20 or 30 seconds. And let's listen to Danny Elfman's 1989 Batman theme.
It is.
Yeah.
About as much
Yeah.
as we can get away with without getting copyright.
Yeah, so I
Danny Elfman might not be lying.
yeah, he has a point. It's not that Hans Zimmer's composition is bad or unmemorable. Well, I mean, it's just not so much trying to be a theme. He's doing a lot of cool things with like the symphonic elements of it and
scoring.
Yeah, it's a score. And like if you think for Batman v Superman, I think Zimmer's real agenda with trying to come up with a new score was that amazing Wonder Woman theme that he did with Tina Guo and Junkie that like is super iconic.
Check out our video on that.
Yeah, we did a separate video on that. But he did do a lot of cool percussion stuff, and I really like the Dark Knight version
I
of the
like
music.
Man of Steel's theme. I think it's my favorite superhero theme because it just feels like you get this kind of sense of like loneliness, but also a little bit of hope. And that, I mean, the final trailer for Man of Steel is my favorite, one of my favorite just trailers in general. So, and I always will think about that score. To be honest, I kind of totally forgot. I had a totally different idea of what Hans Zimmer's Batman theme was. Yeah, I was totally wrong with it. So.
Yeah, the Danny Elfman score, I think we all probably had an emotional response to as soon as we heard it, because that's what a theme does, is that it is this, I've said this before, Star Wars has the best, most consistent theme usage ever, where anytime you see anything relating to Princess Leia, you hear her theme, or even if she's not in the scene, you heard her theme and you felt the emotions. That's what a theme's supposed to do. And then Danny Elfman specifically is great because he knows how to do macabre, like gothic things, and make them accessible to, honestly, to children even. So if you think of like all the like Tim Burton style things, where these should be traditionally scary nightmare things, yet for some reason we're like tickled by going into the nightmare.
Right.
And that's like something like where he made Batman feel a little accessible instead of like this dark, scary thing.
Right.
You know me. I'm all about the business side of things. They call me Bottom Line Bechtold. I think, again, this is a smart business move for Warner Brothers and DC, because everyone, short of Wonder Woman, every DC comic book movie that has come out in the last 10 years has been, except for the Nolan Batman movies, has been panned and been like, this isn't fun, we don't like this. But people love Michael Keaton Batman. They love Batman Returns. So I think like the second you hear a little Danny Elfman whimsical Batman theme, people are like, parents are going to get back into it. They've probably shown their kids Michael Keaton's Batman out of anger and reaction to Batman versus Superman. They'll be like, see kids, that's the music I was talking about. I think it's a smart business move. And I also just prefer that theme because it was the first. It's like Doctor Who fans like the first Doctor that they see. Like that was the first Batman theme.
And they still use that theme constantly in a lot of stuff. I personally love the Lego Batman games a lot. They didn't use the Lego Batman theme. They used the Danny Elfman score, and when you can play a Superman, the original Superman score will come up too.
Yeah.
And everyone always kind of remembers the Superman score as well. I can't.
Right.
Weirdly, I can never think of it, but as soon as it comes on,
It's Super Guy.
Quick question to clarify: is he saying he's literally going to use this as Batman's theme anytime Batman appears, or is he going to modify and be inspired by?
I think he's going to modify and be inspired. Like he's going to probably modulate.
Skrillex will get in there and chop it up. Casho will be like, Batman.
I don't think he's just going to drag and drop from like iTunes into the Dropbox for this movie.
Obviously, I think we do want him to update it if he's gonna. Don't just phone it in and collect your paycheck. But at the same time, bottom line back to. But at the same time, I think just for a second my brain went to, what if we had the original Superman theme when Superman shows up in Justice League, and the original Batman theme when he shows up, and it kind of would feel like, oh right, these are characters we've been growing up with for all of my 19 years or whatever. And like and that impact would hit me so much harder if they did do that.
And I don't know if you mentioned that, sorry, but I think they said that they are going to be playing with the original Superman theme in this movie as well. They're going to play with it. They're going to play with it in a really fun way. So that makes me really excited. So.
Well, let's move on to our next topic, switching over to the MCU again, Avengers Infinity War. Okay, so this week, Infinity War co-director Anthony Russo said in an interview that when developing the story for the movie, they based Thanos' plot to steal the Infinity Stones on famous heist movies. So I thought it'd be fun if we all think about our favorite heist movies from over the years and do a Pitch Me segment here. Pitch me your version of an Infinity War movie, mapping over like the characters and plot points from classic heist cinema. Who wants to go first?
I'll go. Okay. First I have my dumb one because I love Fast Five. It's a Fast and Furious
that's
movie.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but also like to a dumb extent where like I would love to get like assign a muscle car to each Avenger, and then Thanos has like a monster truck basically, and like I don't know, but that's not actually my pitch.
Oh, and all of his sidekicks have little motorcycles that come out the
back.
Exactly.
My actual pitch is we map this over Inception.
Cool.
Which is to me still a heist movie.
Oh, for sure.
That movie's framed that way.
Yeah.
And what it really is the heist itself it's being complicated by him obtaining the stones because now he has the power inherent in that stone. And specifically, one of the stones he would get early on is the reality stone.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then so now they're like it's specifically trying to prevent. Okay, we got to prevent him from getting. Oh wait, he has a reality one, and he starts bending reality so that literally they can fight in all the different realms, and they're fighting in like almost the Doctor Strange kinds of places. But then also like he could change their forms or whatever, and they have to navigate almost a dream world and go to understand like, okay, well, if reality is not consistent, how do we then continue to follow him and chase him? And it becomes almost like a Freddy Krueger kind of thing.
Yeah. That's cool.
That's my pitch.
That's pretty cool. My bad idea. Love the Italian Job, and you put that in there as a suggestion because I love when those Mini Coopers come out and they have to like, how does it fit in the hallway? How do they drive out of this house in a Mini Cooper? And I was like, it'd be great that like Thanos and Tony used to work together, but Tony, screwed him over. So now Thanos and his buddies are coming together to rip off Stark Mansion. He's got all the Infinity Stones there for some reason, and then whatever. Bad idea. Better idea. I don't know if I was trying to think of. I actually just completely spaced on what the title of the movie is, but I think the way that this movie could work really well is just seeing kind of like a mapped like floor plan of like kind of like a battle strategy. I know it's a heist movie, but I think the way that they it's maybe do it in a reverse kind of heist movie where you're watching it from the cops' point of view, and the cops in this are the Avengers,
right.
and then you see how they strategize almost all over the world or all over wherever they are, working together to try to stop Thanos, but throwing in your element of them actually getting these stones and allowing them to alter reality in different ways, and actually like showing like we've seen pieces of what these things can do, but like really show if someone knows what they're doing, they can mess up the entire universe.
Well, what's really cool about that idea, because my gut says like a heist movie from the cop perspective is the boring perspective, but not if one, the town actually does a decent
town
job.
Inside Man is
Heat,
that from the cop,
too. But also that it's that famous blueprint rollout, right?
Yeah,
what you
the
were-
Home
what you were
Alone
saying, right?
blueprint.
It's the whole universe.
Yeah, Home Alone's a heist movie, right?
Yeah, misspelled ornaments and mac and cheese.
But like
cooling
the
on it.
Ocean's 11 thing, but there's a really cool angle if you take it the way of like the cops going, we need to think like the robbers. So we know all of the ways that these things are protected. So if we were trying to steal them, here's our plan for how cops would steal stuff. So if the Avengers kind of have to like let maybe like Rocket Raccoon or the Guardians or something tell them like, look, we're experts at stealing stuff. Here's how it's going to go down.
And then that's how you get the fun team ups of like the Guardians, but also I don't know, Doctor Strange get the team up and they go off to somewhere and they try to stop him, but obviously it's not going to work because we have another movie coming after this.
Yeah, sure.
First of all, thank you for having me back into pitch. I know the last pitch was
Offensive.
controversial. So
I heard about this. I was
I
informed.
guess for me, I'm going to take this pitch from the point of view of Thanos assembling a group of shapeshifters, Mephisto, Loki, and then borrowing through a deal where we trade a character to Fox, Mystique. And then we basically are living out Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows as the four of them go to find the Infinity Stones, Horcruxes, if you will, using their shape-shifting abilities to confuse the people and owners and possessors of these Infinity Stones to give up the stones, ultimately completing the glove. Bad guys win. Always my preferred way a movie goes. Anyway, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Can you validate my parking?
No.
No? Okay.
And there are no valets out front. We don't know who you gave your car to.
I gave it to Stan. He was wearing a Dan.
Stanley.
It was Stanley. He was wearing
I'll
a Dan
get your
Marino
car back
jersey,
to you.
and he said, "Let me quarterback this car down to Beverly Hills."
Yeah.
That wasn't as offensive as his last pitch.
Yeah, it was well
but
done.
You had your hand on my leg for most of it.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you
And not my leg,
not like
and
that?
that's I don't know.
So let's make it.
I think my pitch. I guess it's not really a heist movie, but Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is really kind of a MacGuffin tale.
Those are still.
But the idea of like getting a plan to go get the thing, go get the treasure, and steal it back from the Nazis, as many heist movies are. But I just want like some kind of opening scene where we see Cap or Stark or someone going into to this really cool Star-Lord getting one of the Infinity Stones, the Soul Stone, whatever it is, and then it just like being lifted out of his hand by Thanos, who just shows in to swoop in and steal it from him, and then just becomes this back and forth the whole time.
They have that banter that is at the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That belongs in a museum.
There was a movie that came out a few years ago. It was Ben Stiller and people that like came together to like
heist, right? Or Tower Heist?
Tower Heist, that's what it was called. And they have to steal from Alan Arkin, and they like lower a car from the top of a skyscraper on like a window cleaning rig.
Yeah.
Whatever the equivalent of that is, but Avengers, I want that because it's just like we got to get back at our boss, you know. You guys, we have to, or Office Space where they try to steal it.
Yeah, that's a good heist.
In Office Space, someone gets hypnotized, and that's how it moves forward.
I do really want to see Thanos have the classic conversation with it's always like the two leaders. So it's the heat scene. Basically, Al Pacino and Robert De Niro have to have that conversation.
Yeah, the diner.
And it happens in a lot of movies, and that I just really do want to see. I don't care how they work that in. Of Thanos talking to, and I'm gonna guess Tony.
Maybe he seems still kind of a leader.
Cap, Yeah, or Cap. That'd be interesting because Cap would just be like, "What is happening?"
Yeah, but Doctor Strange would be kind of fun to have that conversation. Yeah,
he would at least understand it a little bit.
Yeah,
but also, I mean, actually, this works pretty well. Star-Lord could do it too, even though he's not like one of the big leaders in this. He at least understands who this person is, what he means to everybody else, and what he could do if he got the Infinity Stones.
Well, let's and make sure you guys get in on this. Pitch us your versions of this. We want to hear from you guys, so you can comment down below, tweet at us, or put this on Stardust as well. But let's move on to our next topic involving Logan. Now, people have been sharing this week, I don't know if you guys saw this, an excerpt from early on in the script. It was written by screenwriter Scott Frank. A note on how violence should be portrayed in this movie. He wrote, now might be a good time to talk about, quote unquote, fights described in the next 100 or so pages. Basically, if you're on to make for a hyper choreographed, gravity defying, city block destroying CGI F-a-thon, this ain't your movie. He went on to promise that Logan's health is failing and that he's going to get his ass kicked, and that the characters in this movie don't just get hurt, they die. So if you guys don't mind, I'm just going to take my soapbox here, and I want to take a moment to quickly rant about this, because I freaking love this. I actually got to see Scott Frank speak at the Austin Film Festival last week, and I think anyone telling stories can learn so much from this guy on the importance on setting tone right away. There's nothing wrong with boldly declaring what kind of story you want to tell and how it'll be different from every other story we've seen, and Scott Frank did it in such a blunt way, and for me, everything I loved about Logan started with this declaration in the script. It sums up the whole story, the coarseness of the character, the brutal, tragic violence, Logan's contempt for the heartbreak, for the way his heartbreak of the past has been bastardized into this kid-friendly pop entertainment. I think Logan is one of the best superhero movies ever, easily the best of the year, and I hope it wins a ton of awards. Director James Mangold and actors Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart rightfully getting a lot of credit for their success. I just wanted to also extend a pat on the back to the screenwriter for taking the first step in this kind of story. Yes.
Great rant. Plus, kudos to Hugh Jackman for getting adamantium claws put in so they didn't have to do a CGI F-a-thon, right? Like, we didn't want to see an F-a-thon there, and he just went all the way with it.
You sure you didn't want to see an F-a-thon?
I mean, I always want to see an F-a-thon. We're clear about that. In my final show here.
They call you Tommy Bottom.
Bottom.
Tommy Bottom.
No one calls me Tommy Bottom, but my closest of friends. Okay? There's 3 people in the world that can call me Tommy Bottom, and they're all here.
All right, we're going to move on to our Need to Know lightning round, where I'm going to quickly hit all of you guys with some rapid-fire, off-the-cuff questions.
We have not heard these questions.
You have not heard these. I haven't even looked at these. You guys have been kind enough to tweet them into us.
Read.
I cannot read. I'm blind. I don't know what this is. It's witchcraft. I'm just going to quickly go through these. Okay, here we go. Filup. Sam Armstrong wants to know, Thor Ragnarok or chocolate milk?
Thor Ragnarok. I'm an adult person. I'm sorry.
Okay, good one.
That's how you disperse it.
No, it's good. Here we go. Tommy, do you think Stan Lee is a watcher?
No, I think he's pervert.
A toucher.
Yeah. Well, that was from Big Boy Sean. So,
wait. To clarify, people don't know that you're joking.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm kidding. Totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yes. A 90-year-old.
Yes, you're right. He's a sweet old man. I think he's a sweet old man who watches.
And does not touch. Just
never-
watch.
He looks but never touches.
Sam Mathito wants to know, how do you feel about the upcoming Flashpoint movie?
Oh, it's a mistake, and there was a mistake. There's a million other stories to tell, but if they want to redo the universe, if they're like, you know what, Ben Affleck, he clearly doesn't want to be here anymore, and a lot of other people are like iffy on him, and
They're
Henry
not
Cavill.
gonna do Tom.
No, they won't switch everything like that. But I'd prefer if they did it like, if you want him to be like your Spider-Man, have him fight the Rogues, because the Rogues are awesome.
Very true. I didn't hear anything he said, but
That's fine.
I like
You were
Sam and I want to agree with
yourself.
him. Sam is my friend.
TV show version villains, yeah.
Philip,
Hi.
who is a better duo? I just had this. Who is a better
Sam
duo? 11?
and go ahead,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're just going to ship with everyone.
Yeah.
11 and Hopper or Wolverine and Laura? That's from Natalie.
Ooh,
That's a good question.
man,
That's a very good question.
This is not a takeaway. I love both of those, and I think there's definitely something there for the. I love the beautiful relationship that happens between a man who just wants to protect a little girl, and it's like a fatherly thing that they talk a lot about a mother's instincts and how she has those feelings in her, and it turns out fathers do too. But I'm gonna give it to the one in Logan just because that one actually has the legitimate stakes of like they're trying to like kill these people, and everyone here really will die. So that's yeah.
Yeah. Tommy, Carol Brown wants to know, I know y'all celebrated Halloween, but have you ever participated in El Dia de los Muertos?
I have not. I'm glad I'm getting the ones I can really relate to this year. This is
I assumed that
Latinos?
the food ones were great. I almost once killed Judd Apatow at Dia de los Muertos festival. He ran in front of my car, and I hit the brakes at the last minute, and then he almost yelled at me before realizing he was in the wrong and went, "Sorry, bud," and then I threw a headshot out my window. I didn't do that.
Sorry, Tommy Bottom.
Yeah.
On me.
Oh, Tommy Bottom!
And that guy was me. I love the headshot, and welcome to the
Thank you. That's how I got this job.
And then, Sam, if Red Hood film was being produced, what actor would you like to see playing him? That's from Paul Frizzell.
Red Hood?
Red Hood.
Red Hood.
The second Robin.
Yeah.
It's a lot of Batman movies. But if they did it, he would be pretty cool. I'd say... Give him his due, Jensen Ackles, that guy, not long hair man from Supernatural. He's a fine actor. I've seen him in other stuff. Give him his due.
He doesn't age.
He weirdly doesn't age.
Yeah.
He's looked like that since '89. So yeah, good for him.
All right. Well, thank you to everyone who tweeted in your lightning round
round.
questions. We'll tweet out next week
Lord
and
of
start thinking of your ideas now. Yeah. God of Lord of. Yeah. You hit it already. Well done. Okay. So I'm new. I'm not new at all. I have no excuse. Let's look at what we got in the pipeline for videos coming out in this channel in the next week. A lot of good stuff, guys. If they aren't out already, take a look at our Thor Ragnarok post-credit scene breakdown. We explained both of them. Also, a Stranger Things Season 2 breakdown. Guys, I found like 80 details or so. And I didn't even...
80% of the new Han Solo movie
Right, that
was
should
shot
have been
by
the
Ron
80.
Howard. I don't know if
80 is a
that's
big number.
I'll say we had to bring on extra editing staff just for this video. It's a massive video.
Yeah. What else do we got?
Oh, well, you got breakdowns for The Flash episode 4 out right now, episode 5 next week. It was really fun. Elongated man showed up. He was very stretchy.
Oh, yeah. We also have a full, more in-depth breakdown of the whole movie Thor Ragnarok, including all the interesting details and references you might have missed. There's a lot.
It's honestly a movie that we already can tell that we've already are gonna have to go see it again to make sure our breakdown's complete.
Yeah. We'll also be doing a breakdown of The Walking Dead episode 3. It's titled Monsters. Thank you, all of you, for your positive responses to the new format. We're still figuring it out, but we're happy that we're able to get them out to you faster. Hopefully at the same level of quality, if not better quality. I feel better about it.
It's the same.
It's the same.
It just has your breathing.
It's the same
in
good
it.
stuff, yeah. And then, guys, we got a really interesting feature video that we've had in the works for a while. It's about some of the darker truths behind the world of Pixar's Cars.
Seriously.
Wow.
And for a second week in a row, I'll be issuing a heartfelt apology to this time to the Latino community for dismissing Dia de los Muertos, which I have celebrated before.
And
I
yet
just
you can't
remembered.
relate to it.
I can relate to it, but last time it was all food questions. This time I just wanted to answer a superhero question. I guess you can't always get what you want, but the bottom line is sometimes you get what you need.
We have to pay $250,000 to quote the Rolling Stones there.
No,
Yeah.
that's not. I thought thought that was Jesus.
He was hoping we would put a bottom line like sound effect. Tommy bottom line.
Top bottom Tommy.
Yeah.
I think you guys should just put an in memory thing again. Yeah. Every week should just be in memory.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now comes the time for our 15-second shout out, where each of us has 15 seconds to shout out or plug or ramble about anything they want. I already took my time to talk about Logan, so I'll throw it to you guys.
Sure. You should guys, if you want something to read Jason Aaron's Thor run. I just read the first 2 volumes. It's what this movie is. It's what they wanted. It's exactly modeled it after this, and it's gonna make you cry. It's beautiful. It's the only good Thor story out in like the past 20 years.
Man, I'm blanking on his name. Do you remember the name of the robot that I'm obsessed with lately? That's on Indiegogo. Allo maybe or something like that. Ollie, yeah. Ollie the robot. He's amazing. You can support him on Indiegogo. He's the robot assistant that you always expect from like movies where you get home from work. This isn't their video, so it might not be real. But you get home from work and he goes like, "Hey Philip, long day. It's pretty late." And you're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You want me to dim the lights or something?" It's like, "Yeah, please." "Hey, I'll put on some smooth jazz for you." And then he has sex with you. No, but it's a
it's
really
the one we always wanted.
Yeah, it's a badass robot. Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to Halloween being over so we can finally start celebrating Christmas.
Hey.
Yeah, it's Christmas season.
Christmas time.
Crank those Christmas tunes and
Eat that Christmas Thanksgiving turkey.
Yeah. Gather your family in the end of November to begin celebrating halfway to Christmas time. And also, isn't the Batman animated series coming out on Blu-ray? I keep getting messages about that. Is that really happening?
Yes, it is.
Please have that happen. And also, that's what I want for Christmas from all of you. Bottom line.
And finally, let's return to the trivia question that we asked earlier. If you want to pass this back out, and you can give it to someone who didn't write it, maybe. We have the answer here. Just to remind you guys what the question was. In Stranger Things 2, what is the name of the character played by bodybuilder Kai Green? And let's review our answers first. Tommy, you want to read what you got?
Sure. I have Eric's answer, and it's Hammerhead.
That sounds about right.
Well, you said that.
Yeah.
That's your answer.
That's all right. I feel good about that guy's
The
answer.
judges? All right. Eric thinks it's Hammerhead. Sam thinks it's Funshine.
Funshine.
But it's a question mark.
Funshine?
Yeah. Philip wrote Bojacked Vestman.
Ah!
Got a great vest.
From your boy Tommy B. Dad, question mark, and then in parentheses, I assume he is a father in real life.
Yes.
Dad.
Dad.
That's very maternal.
Also question mark though. Dad?
Yeah.
Dad?
Okay, well, the answer is Funshine.
Whoa!
Sam got it.
So, judges, who was the closest on that?
Okay, well, what we're going to do now is we're going to quickly run through some of the other news headlines that we didn't have time for. And Tommy, as the loser of the trivia question, you will have to read these headlines that are on the prompter here. And at the end of each headline, you'll have to make a joke and cleverly riff on the headline, all while we heckle you.
Ah, all right. Great.
Right.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
so,
Sounds like a nightmare I've had.
Yeah.
And now it's time for your favorite segment, Other News Headlines. For the Shazam movie, Zachary Levi announced to play Shazam, and Mark Strong from The Kingsman is in talks to play the villain, Dr. Sivana. That's a strong choice.
Boo. I like it. Yeah, I want to support him, I guess.
The head of AMC said that The Walking Dead could stay on TV for decades, which by then the world will actually be over.
Sad.
Disney released the full cast of the voice actors on the live-action version of The Lion King, including Beyonce as Nala. That's making lemonade out of Disney lemons.
He's good. I don't want to.
Lawrence Fishburne will play.
Next.
I'm not good at reading. Lawrence Fishburne, who will play Bill Foster in the upcoming Marvel movie Ant-Man and the Wasp, says he is working on an additional secret project with Marvel. It is not a porno with his porn star daughter. A real fact about Lawrence Fishburne.
I am laughing out of being uncomfortable.
Cut it in post. Game of Thrones production crew for season 8 has been spotted building its largest set ever in a warehouse in Belfast, hinting at a massive action sequence that will be shot indoors. Also shot indoors, the child of Daenerys and Jon Snow. Like he came inside her.
shot indoors.
Right? Like they're definitely gonna have a baby.
That's a stretch.
They were on a boat.
Hey, be careful what you wish for. Dad ? Was a safe answer.
We should not have done that.
Oh, yeah. It's work in progress. Well done, Tommy. Well done for those jokes.
And yet this he does not apologize
Yeah,
for.
no, not at all.
And I
Stand by
apologize for
all
nothing.
of this.
That's amazing. Okay, well, Sam, do you want to take the goodbye as nailing that answer? Yeah.
All right, guys. Just thanks everybody for giving me the chance to speak here. You can go ahead and follow me, Sam Bashor. You can listen to my podcast, Only Stupid Answers. I'm going to be talking about Thor as well. But you can follow Erik Voss at EA Voss. You can follow Filup Molina at
so much.
Fimo.
He's so good at this.
And you can follow Tommy Bechtold
that's
at
not a
I
voice.
wish it was Tommy Bottom, but it's just Tommy Bechtold.
Yeah, maybe I'll change it.
Well, Bechtold means bottom.
Yeah, it'll be your Halloween nickname or whatever.
Yeah. It's bottom line, by the way, guys.
To just
No,
have
it isn't.
room
We
on
changed
the
it.
screen.
Yeah, drop
We know
some.
that's what bottom
Yeah.
is referring to.
Yeah, I wish you'd just, call me Tommy Bottom Line.
Yeah.
And make sure you follow us all on Stardust. You can send us your questions there as well, right?
Yeah, and make sure to hit us up with that reaction to our Stardust question. What do you think was the funniest joke in Thor Ragnarok? Tag us at New Rockstars so that we can see it, and we might feature it in next week's video.
Yeah, definitely.
You made me cry a little bit, Tommy. You caught me off guard.
Well, there was also some real dark stuff in what
It
he
was
said.
pretty dark. Of course, as always, comment down below. Tweet us at New Rockstars using the hashtag #NeedToKnow. You can help us decide what topics to cover next week, and just your reactions to this video, things you like, things you want to see more of. Like this video, share it around, subscribe to New Rockstars for all the deep dives into stuff you love. Guys, thanks for watching. See you next week.
See, I won't be seeing you ever again, but thank you.